You're listening to Surely a Mystery, straight from Long Beach Island, New Jersey. We're here to share with you all the spooky, scary, and mind-bending enigmas that make up the Jersey Shore. I'm your living host, Anna, here with some mystery, history, and a few tips to proper ghost hunting. So why don't we get started? College hauntings are just as bad as high school ones, but there is a large difference. Unless you attended a boarding school, you don't actually live at your high school. You can go home at night and probably don't even realize that it's haunted. That is, until somebody tells you that it is. But at college, you are stuck. You live there and, in a sense, work there, unless you commute. It's a home away from home where you are supposed to feel safe. College dorms are and will continue to be places for self-discovery. Drinking, sex, drugs, rock and roll, or just finding out your simple likes and dislikes. Having people to talk to about the world, your own views about it, without having to bring it home. You can explore the world in a way where there are no parents or siblings to interfere with your exploration. It might be a place where you find others to relate to and share your past traumas, like other kids whose parents got divorced when they were really young, or you find out that you aren't happy with your religion that you were born into, or worse, things too. Unfortunately, your college experience can also be where you get new traumas, and it's not just the physical or sexual kind. We're talking about the stress of grades and classes, and it can also be anxiety-ridden and just plain horrible to deal with. So all the normal emotions of the high school period of your life, but now you're legal and over the age of 18 and truly and legally are an adult. Okay, not totally. You aren't really legal to drink yet, but many do. Not all, but some kids experience with alcohol and drugs. You're with friends, and there may be the pressures of your friends, your love interests, or groups that you belong to. Or maybe you just want to fit in. Maybe you'll find out you're an alcoholic, and just maybe you're doing it for emotional or anxiety relief. It really doesn't matter. College is an energy-filled time of high emotions and extreme energies. The land and the buildings are soaked with it. So add a murder or a suicide to the mix, and it's ripe for a haunting. I figured that I did a show on high school, so why not graduate, in a sense, to universities and colleges? I don't think that I would really find a lot, but I did find quite a bit. Enough to make at least the first show. And I'm sure if I get more information, it could fill another show. I don't really have any order in how I'm going to talk about these colleges. I can't really put them into different sizes, like size of campus or types of haunting. So I'm just going to dive right in. Oh, and remember, if you went to school in New Jersey and have a haunting to share, please send me an email at surelyamystery@gmail.com. And it's all one word. Well, let's start with Montclair State University. It's first up on my list. It's in, you guessed it, Montclair, New Jersey, and it has roughly about 22,000 students going there at any given time. It was established in 1908, and guess who went to school there? Bruce Willis. I had no idea he did until I started doing research. I had no idea if he stayed at the Clove Road Apartments, but many say that they are the most haunted and known for strange happenings. One student said, okay, so I moved in and some of my friends were like, you must like horror movies to live there. I didn't get what they were saying. It was a month or so, and then the lights would turn off by themselves, and I'd be sleeping and the lights would go on all of a sudden. Yeah, I guess I got used to it. Many more students and former residents said that there were unexplainable knockings on your bedroom or bathroom doors, almost like someone wanting to come in. So you would hurry up and there'd be nobody there. So you'd begin to get mad, swing open the door, and the same result. There is nobody there. Then you get mad at your roommates or people in the apartments thinking that they were playing a prank on you. After a while, it sinks in to many that it's just the ghosts or poltergeists of the building. There aren't any murders there at that particular address that I could find, but literally near the intersection of Upper Mountain and Cedar, a student from Montclair who found her stepsister, who happened to be several months pregnant, were just dangling from lengths of clothesline in the basement of the family's elegant 20-room white shingle colonial house in 1972. At first, many thought it was like a murder-suicide thing. There was no forced entry. Nobody had a real motive. Well, it turned out to be a random murderer who was a 26-year-old window washer. And that's like 10 minutes more down the road, you're going to find a second double murder. But this time it's a mother and one child, and the other two children survive. The town in general really only has 1 to 3 murders every year for like a sequence of 2 or 3 years. And then they'll have like nothing for 2 or 3 more years. It's like a routine. Well, the apartment building also doesn't like to be talked about. Residents say that when they talk about the strange things, they suddenly get super nauseated. Others will talk about cold spots, even in the middle of the hot summer. Like they're dying of sweat and heat, and then they suddenly walk into a blast of Arctic air. No reason, no air conditioning. Several apartments have their own issues. For example, so my friend's apartment is always cold, like freezing, but the thermostat is like set at 80. The super and the maintenance guy checked, but they said this apartment has always been freaky since 1970s, said one student. For all you poltergeist fans, the rumor is that the whole place was, yes, built on a Native American burial grounds. Remember, many burial grounds weren't marked, and they were simply like mounds of earth. And many Native Americans migrated during the season, or they followed food around. So, for example, LBI was quote-unquote a summer place for the local tribes. It was cooler than the mainland, and there was plenty of fish to eat. So they'd just come out to the island for the summer and then go back in the winter. Many students say that once the darkness rolls in, that shadowy figures are seen moving around the trees. You never feel like you're alone. Many students don't like to be on campus after dark, and the class schedule certainly reflects that dislike. In many places, windows and doors will shut or open on their own. Lights will tend to flicker on and off when you least expect it. For example, I thought there were these like light centers, the ones that if you sat too long, the lights would go off. So when the lights went out, I thought, great, I'll just move. I did, nothing happened. So I got up, I walked around, I flicked the light switch, nothing. Then suddenly, it slowly went on. The switch is like either on or off. Nothing slow about it. So it freaked the shit out of me, said one former grad student. In 2018, there was a ranking of colleges where the most haunted were lined up. Drew University in New Jersey got a ranking of 9th, but Montclair was number 1. So let's talk about Drew. It's in Madison, New Jersey, and it started its life in 1867. And this one does have deaths on the campus. In December 10th, 1902, in the Hoyt Bone Hall, George Leonard Lowes died in room 217. Oh yes, you can get room 217. After ice skating, he came into his dorm room, took off his skates and shoes, and put his feet, still in his wet socks, against the radiator. He then leaned back to turn on the electric lamp, and he was instantly electrocuted. He was found simply because other students smelled burnt clothing and flesh. It turned out all to be an accident because there had been a recent electrical storm which downed a power line. The power line had gone into the ground and gotten frozen and connected to the grating that goes into the basement. The basement was where the radiator stuff was. So he just happened to be the first unlucky soul to put his feet up, turn on a light, and complete the circuit. Now, in the Great Hall, many report seeing ghostly faces in the ceiling carvings or the chandeliers swinging on their own. Now, I would say that they saw too many Harry Potter movies, the ones where the paintings are alive. But many of these tales come years before Harry Potter was even written. If you like more of a traditional English churchy kind of haunting, then go to Seminary Hall and head up to the Craig Chapel. The organ will sometimes play on its own, and it used to be the administration building. The chapel lights will go on by themselves, and many security officers will talk about the chapel organ playing on its own, or that the lights will be on and they have to go check it. If you want some YouTube videos to watch, some of the students at Drew University really lean into the ghost thing with great ghost tour videos and ghost tales about different places on the campus. So check them out on YouTube. You can try and track down a young girl named Carol who hangs out in the woods behind Tolly Brown, or Reggie, who loves to play pranks in the Shakespeare Theater. Some think that Reggie actually was a child that drowned in a pool there, since it originally was a gym. However, according to oral tradition, there were also 2 children in the area of Drew who died before it was constructed in the early 1800s of consumption. Maybe they could be the children's ghosts. The best ones at Drew are the Revolutionary soldiers on Ashbury Lawn. They were stationed in the area during the war, but they didn't see any action or died near there. So I'm going to say that they're simply recurring images of past events. Drew has always been a center for paranormal acceptance. In 1925, Dorothy Young, who has a building named after her, was actually part of Harry Houdini's touring show. And in Mead Hall, Roxana Mead Drew is said to haunt the building. And in 1989, firefighters claimed to have seen her ghost in the midst of a fire that was engulfing the building. Like those Harry Potter portraits, her own portrait in the hall seems to often tilt on its own, like she got back in the frame or wanted to get out of the frame. Now let's move to Hackenstown, New Jersey, and Centenary University, which was founded in 1867. The most famous ghost is Tilly Smith, and each year students act out her demise. In 1886, she was a kitchen maid who was murdered in the field behind the school. She was actually living at the school while she was working there, but she really loved the local theater performances, and she wanted to go see one. So she wouldn't be back until after 10 p.m., which was after curfew and the buildings were locked. So she asked James Titus, the janitor, if he would let her in. However, he attempted to get a little something in return for his troubles that night, and when she refused, he ended up strangling her to death. Well, her ghost is seen all over campus, floating about the ceiling in the South Hall, walking through the oak trees, but she loved the theater so much, so it's become kind of her favorite place to haunt. A repairman once went to fix a light in the sound room, and it started to move. So he clearly heard a woman scream, "Get me there!" The best Tilly story is that Sigma sorority has a photograph that is got Tilly in the photo with other people, and the photo was taken several years after she died. Now, she's not credited in the description of who's in the photo, but she obviously decided to be there nonetheless. There is a lady in blue seen wandering by the lake, which could be Tilly or the spirit of a young woman who supposedly committed suicide in the attic of Hoyt Hall. Now, I suggest you go for a campus tour and ask your guide about Tilly and see the tales that you get. Camden County College is next up. It's in the Blackwood section of Gloucester Township, but it is a newcomer to the college game. It opened in 1967 on 320 acres of land, which had belonged to the Mother of Savior Seminary. It was a high school and a college, which was basically like 6 years in total. Before that, it was called the Sunset Ranch. The locals actually referred to it as Buffalo Farm. And in the 1940s, you could bring your kids to see exotic large animals, including buffaloes, and even have a picnic with them. Well, if you go to Jefferson Hall in the 3rd floor, legend has it that a young monk hung himself there, and he still haunts. Many students and staff will talk about shadows moving across the hallways when there's nobody there, doors that slam by themselves, and if you take a night class there, many say that you will not be alone. Many security guards consider it a rite of passage to have the new guys handle that building. Many students will not have classes scheduled there after dark. Furthermore, the U.S. Surgeon General visited Camden County College to address the loneliness epidemic. It was sparked by an uptake in veterans' deaths who attended the school there. And in fact, the whole local area has a whopping number of overdose deaths in the whole township. This is a perfect mix of Catholic seminary. Now it's about a thriving 15,000 student school. It even has Rutgers University using that Jefferson Hall as their school of health professionals. So many vets will come back, enroll, and seek to be a nurse, a PA, an EMT, a paramedic. However, many have PTSD and just feel unloved or not respected for the service that they gave our country. It's a weird mix of 1960s culture with only a few buildings left from the original school still surviving to this day. The last college has probably the most famous event. On September 4th, 1977, an aspiring music major was brutally murdered while practicing piano. In an empty auditorium of the College of New Jersey, which is now called Trenton State College, the murder, to this day, is unsolved. Kendall Hall has now reports of paranormal events all the time. Now, the school itself has changed names 5 times, but Trenton State has continued to be the moniker, even though that's not its real official title. It also has stuck because that's when Sigrid Stevenson died. She snuck into the building to practice. She was known around campus as a bit of a free spirit. She even had hitchhiked around Canada and the United States. But now she seemed to settle down to get her master's degree in music and eventually become a teacher. Her free-spirited nature even went so far as she liked to practice by herself in the nude. And on this night, her jeans and top were actually found neatly folded by her body. She was not raped. They think maybe strangled, but she was actually beaten to death. So severely that when her friends came to ID her, they only recognized her by her hair. Her sheet music and the piano were covered in blood spatter, but she was wrapped in the piano cover, which she had taken off the piano to play it on the stage floor. She was found face down, blood pooled around her and where she had actually been sitting. At the time of her death, she had just supposedly moved into a home with a local fireman from Ewing Township. Her friends, however, had said she had no boyfriend, and nothing was ever publicly written about this volunteer fireman, other than he had a strong alibi. She had rented previously a room from Dr. Alan Lutz, a Trenton stage professor, but moved out in August. There were hundreds of people interviewed, and some of them multiple times, but no suspects were ever revealed or followed up on. Psychics have told of a stalker that she might have had, perhaps a worker at the school. Many believe that she haunts the school because of her unfinished business. I think it's not just solving her murder, but also her not getting her degree. Many students say that the faint sound of music can be heard in the air near the building late at night. There was a tale of this one girl who kept telling people that she saw a paper towel float across the bathroom and deposit itself into the trash like a person was actually drying their hands, said one security guard. Many think it was a maintenance guy or security guard who did the murder, since they would have had access to the building. But during those years, it was totally easy to get into any building anytime you wanted. Although some say she was sexually assaulted, the autopsy says the California beauty was not. But according to students, Kendall Hall is the least favored building to hang in. There are other tales of paranormal. The new STEM building, which was once the spot where Holman Hall, which was definitely highly haunted, was located. Its land origins of being a Native American burial ground from the Lenape. Yes, that's right. Another spot which could have been a burial area for the local village. Did anyone think to do a survey of the land, or do we just think the original land deeds to white European men were on the up and up all the time? It was torn down, but that doesn't stop the ghosts. Now, there's also Bliss Hall, which was once an all-girls dorm, but now it's academic classes. There were tales of men trying to enter rooms and doors being slammed on them, or men getting pinched or touched for no reasons. Now, I found a blog by Jessa and Stephanie called Her Campus, and they talk about Quimby's Prairie. This is a clearing of land between Green Hall and Lake Seva, I think. The legend has it that the clearing used to be filled with trees from John S. Quimby, the former business manager of the college from the 1930s and 40s. So he ordered them, all the trees that is, to be cut down so he could spy on his wife, who lived behind Lake Seva, from his office in Green Hall. Now, whether or not the rumor about his wife is true, Quimby did in fact order the trees to be cut down, and they were. Many students will talk about feeling like they're being watched or that someone is walking behind them and following them. One former student said, "I was walking around dusk and it was like there was somebody behind me. I took my beats off so I could hear clearly, and I could definitely hear footsteps behind me. Then when I turned around to catch the person, there was like literally no one there. No one." That was the last time that I walked that way alone or during the dark. All buildings have tales to tell. For example, my home, which was built in 1950, has had several people die in the building, and it is haunted. It's not that you can find any news articles about the death, but it's been in my family since it was built, and we all know about them. How many colleges cover up deaths and attempted murders or even suicides? Especially in the early 1900s, many families wanted to keep their secrets hidden, and of course many buildings were built because of huge donations from certain families. I often wonder why some people donate buildings, especially if their kids are already going there. You didn't have to donate money because your kid was already there, so you didn't need to get them in. But why? I'm going to say to cover up family secrets. What Catholic school would want to broadcast a death or other misfortune at their school? So, for example, my high school had a tragic event, which my graduating class still doesn't want to acknowledge. But as we got older, we figured it out, and we've actually suppressed talking about it. Well, thanks for listening. Remember to leave comments and ratings for the podcast. I'm always looking for new stories to research or unusual tales to tell about New Jersey. I love the shoreline ones, but New Jersey has so many tales to tell. Come visit me at the Irish Festival in September every year. I'll be there this year. And tell me what your stories are. But that's all for now. So from Long Beach Island, New Jersey, I'm Anna, your living host, sharing the histories, mysteries, and spooky tales of New Jersey and its historic paranormal and supernatural events. Until the next time, stay safe and secure, and always check your six.